I've always found reviewing games an interesting process. You take a game and you play it, but you don't just play it. You play it through the eye of a critic, a magnifying glass of judgment, picking at each corner, looking for faults and scoring each section of the game. And they're usually, but not exclusively, the way the game plays, the way the game runs, the way the game looks, and the way the game tells the story. As you play the game, these scores can increase or decrease, and at the end you get a nice end number to say, this game is this good. And I've always found that a little bit strange. It is, of course, incredibly handy to have a score at a glance that can give you a base to work with. But for me, it's not a score on how good the game is, just how good the game's been made. And I've always felt the difference between the two. In the past, I've played games that were scored high by many and disliked it. And there's been times I've played a game that was scored low and absolutely loved it. And that's because of a hidden element. It's not something that can be given a number, and it's not something that can really be reviewed. And it's not something that people can agree on. And that is the way the game made you feel. When I say made you feel, I'm not only talking about the emotional feelings, like the ones you get from a story. It's not about feeling sad or happy. It can be a feeling that you get from the way the game plays, the gameplay loop, the setting, the theme, the music, the characters. It can be anything. Something that after finishing the game, it stays with you for weeks, months and years. Anything and everything can latch onto your brain and take hold on you. You play the game, and as you progress, your attachment grows. It's no longer a good game, it's a great game. It's the best game. In 2022, I played two games back to back, Red Dead Redemption 2 and Ghost of Tsushima. Both games I absolutely loved. After finishing them, I sat back and I thought about them like a critic would, looking at each section of the game, and I decided to compare them. They're both visually stunning looking games. But I do think Red Dead is just better in every area. Artistically, I do think Ghost has a much better art direction. But graphically, I think Red Dead is just better. Red Dead is pretty much a technical masterpiece. I mean, they both run really, really well. But Red Dead is just insane with the amount of stuff that's in the game. The game genuinely feels alive. You can actually watch a man build a house from scratch. It's just jaw-dropping what they've done in this game. So in the technical side, I think Red Dead has also got it. In the fun side, they're both amazing to play in their own right. But Ghost side quests can get a little bit repetitive. Red Dead just has way more things to do, and you can spend so much time doing anything but the main quest and still feel like you're experiencing the game. So I think Red Dead also wins that. Story-wise, they're both amazing. They're both just so well written, and they're both so well performed. And I did bawl my eyes out with both of them, so I think that's a tie there. Critically speaking, for me, Red Dead 2 is a better game, and I do genuinely believe that Red Dead 2 is the closest thing to a perfect game I've ever played. But my experience with Ghost of Tsushima was far more memorable and impactful on me than Red Dead 2 was, and given the choice, I'd rather play Ghost of Tsushima any day of the week over Red Dead. The settings, the emotion, the character, the gameplay loop, the general funness of it all synced with my brain, and it gave me hit after hit of pure, unfiltered dopamine enjoyment. Again, technically, I do think Red Dead is a better game, but it isn't always about being better. Red Dead 2 was better in every way, but Ghost meant more to me. I remember recommending Ghost of Tsushima to a friend at work. They weren't massively into video games like I was. They've dabbled, but not to the extent that I have. A couple of days later, I asked him how it was going, and he gave me a very sheepish answer of, yeah, nah, not for me. And I was taken back a bit. My beloved game? unloved? I told him to give Red Dead 2 a go instead. And to this day, he does not stop talking about how good that game was. Red Dead 2 gave him the same feeling that Ghost gave me. And I just thought that was really interesting. So it got me thinking about all the other games that I really love. As of this recording, I've played every mainline Final Fantasy game. And I do usually say that Final Fantasy X is probably the best Final Fantasy game ever made. But 7 is my favourite Final Fantasy game. Even with the Final Fantasy PS1 siblings, I'd say 9 is a better game. But 7 is still my favourite. I mean, 7 is my favourite game of all time. I played that game when I was about 9 years old, and I had never played a game like that before. I had never experienced a story like that before. It made me understand character development, fighting in the demons. It got me into turn-based games, and it opened a whole new path of games for me to play. And to this day, if I hear the music from that game, it's just like pulling me back to that time, and I can't help but smile. Sometimes, the first game that shows you a new idea or a mechanic sticks with you the most, even if others do it better. Some other games may tackle those themes or mechanics in a better, more polished way, but because it was your first time experiencing it, you connect more with that game than any other. And you never know, you may hate the genre of games, but there might be one game that changes your mind and opens up a whole new world for you. After being obsessed with the Elden Ring, I decided that I wanted to get into Souls games. Dark Souls 3 is, by far, the best Souls game. But my god, there's something about Dark Souls 1. This time, I even find it really hard to explain why. The controls are more jerky, it doesn't look graphically anywhere near as nice as Dark Souls 3. The pacing in 1 is slower, the music is more impactful and punchy in Dark Souls 3. The bosses in 3 are more refined and tight. It's just all round a much better game. But Dark Souls 1, man. And this pattern of mine carries across to so many other series and games. Metal Gear Solid 3 is known as the best in the series, but Metal Gear Solid 2 is my favourite. Day of the Tentacle is the best point-and-click game from LucasArts, but Monkey Island 1 is my favourite. Ocarina of Time is considered the best, but Wind Waker takes it for me. And in the 2D world, The Link to the Past is considered the best, but Link's Awakening does it for me. I mean, even out of all the Zelda games, Okami is my favourite Zelda-like game. GTA 5 is considered the best GTA, but Vice City is the GTA game that I had the most fun playing and is the best in the series for me. Out of all the Assassin's Creed games, Assassin's Creed 2 is the best. And yeah, that's kind of my favourite as well. Uncharted 2 is considered the best in the series, and yeah, I guess that's the same again. Huh. Sometimes the best one in the series is your favourite. And so far, I've mostly spoken about critically acclaimed games, but there's one number that often gets a bad reputation. It's not a low number, but it's a number that people tend to think of with a negative feeling. And that number is the number 7. We treat 7 out of 10 like it's a bad thing, but honestly, some of my favourite games that I think about years later, were 7s. And for me, they're the games that are willing to take a risk. Take God of War Ragnarök, for example. It was released in 2022 with absolute rave reviews. As I played through the main story, I could really see why. The acting, the combat, the visuals, it's all polished to an inch of its life. It's so polished I can see myself in the game. But after rolling credits and finishing the game, I felt nothing. By all means, it deserves the score because it's an incredibly well-made game. But it gave me no real satisfaction. For me, it was just fine. And honestly, I've kind of forgotten a lot about that game. Ghostwire Tokyo, on the other hand, full of faults. I can give you 5 off the top of my head. It came out in the same year, and my god, I had a better time and experience with this than God of War. It had a style, it had a personality that I really connected with, and that was rated a 7 out of 10. Even recently, I played Alone in the Dark. It's very rough around the edges, and it's a bit flat and a bit cheesy, but it's got a charm and a character that made it more interesting than God of War for me. And that's a 7 out of 10 game. And I don't think those games are bad, it's just a preference. And it's that hidden score that's unique to you. I do genuinely believe I haven't really played a horrendously bad game in the last 10 years. Just the majority of the time, I can easily say, yeah, that game is better than this game, but I prefer this game. AAA games are often expected to be masterpieces. They're held to a higher status, which means anything less than that is a letdown. But AA and indie games, they're allowed to be weird, risky, personal, and that's where you find some of the most memorable experiences. The word trash gets thrown around a lot on the internet, and for some reason, people see 7 as that. Trash. They look for a game review, they scroll down to the bottom, and, it's a 7? Nah, I think I'll pass. And that's why 7 out of 10 scores are so interesting to me. 7 isn't a bad score. 7 is a good score. There's just 1 or 2 minor flaws. However, I find their games are happy to take a chance, but unfortunately people look down at them. But 7 is still good. Saying a game is good and saying that you love a game are two different things. It's a preference based on experience. They're neither right or wrong, and it's not better than anybody else's. It may be how I felt at the time of playing, but most of my top 10 games of all time are based on my personal experience with them rather than the actual quality of that game. There are so many games out there, and there are so many different ways to present that game mechanic, that story, that character, whatever. Don't let the score make the decision for you. Because that 7 out of 10 game, that Souls game, that platformer, that first person shooter, that anything, that could be the game that sticks with you for years. That could be your perfect 10 out of 10. Hi, if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. But I want to open up a discussion in the comments. What's a game that you love, even if most people say is mid? Let me know. I want to see how many hidden 10s are out there. Drop it in the comments. Maybe your favourite game will become somebody else's favourite game. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.